Lope, Joelo, Ssenyonyi.
Initially, they were talking about 3 years. That, okay, let's give ourselves 3 years for the ministry to be ready. Because it is not ready, it does not have what it takes to run the affairs of coffee. And so they asked for 3 years. And we were saying, no, you leave this thing alone. In fact, we said, whenever you are ready, you come to Parliament. There will be Parliament, even if it is in the next term. There will be Parliament. You get ready. You could even be ready in a year or 6 months or 10 years or whatever. When you're ready, you come. Why do you want to legislate in anticipation? But the reason we are saying the ministry, and actually government has agreed with us, and that's why they were saying, let's give it a bit of time to get ready. This ministry has superintended over the fall of cotton, vanilla, moringa, sugarcane. I was in Kamuli last week. A ton of sugarcane has for a long time been at about 250,000 shillings. As we speak today, it is at 50,000 shillings. Farmers are operating at a loss. They're thinking, why are we even doing this? But many of them have begun to slash their sugarcane fields. Some are beginning to plant a bit of coffee and trying out a few other things because they don't see the value of their sweat.
Maybe there's too much sugarcane, and therefore the market prices, the market forces are determining at how much a farmer should sell their ton of sugar.
Yeah, that's what
sugarcane.
We were in Atiak, went to Atiak sugar factory, which has been given 553 billion shillings by government. There's no sugar being produced there. They told me the major reason why they're not producing sugar is because there's no sugarcane. In fact, government even had to spend money to transport some sugarcane from Busoga. And billions of shillings were spent for months. Keep taking all the imagine sugarcane from Busoga all the way to Amuru. So it is not true that there is plenty of sugar on the market. If that were the case, Kenneth, the price of sugar would have gone down. Has it? It has not. You buy sugar, I'm sure. It has not gone down. So it would make sense what you're saying, that if there was plentiful sugarcane all over the place, that means the price of the shelf price of sugar would go down. But it has not gone down. So the farmers are saying, wait a minute, ours has gone down 5 times what they make out of their sweat. There's no difference on this end. There is a problem. And so we have said this ministry is not competent. It does not have the wherewithal. It does not have what it takes. And they admit as such. That's why they were saying, give us 3 years. We prepare.
All right.
Because they know they are not ready.
In your understanding, what's the relationship between the ministry and UCDA? Because the argument has been made that even the success that you're defending, that you claim UCDA has actually registered, is partly because of the supervisory role of the Ministry of Agriculture. And therefore, the government has said there's nothing much that is going to change.
Is it not the same ministry that has been supervising cotton, vanilla, moringa, sugarcane, and so on and so forth? So why did it not supervise those ones successfully? Why has it supervised them to their fall? Because they are falling. Those cash crops are talked about. Completely and also. Who was supervising them to that detriment? Think about it.
All right. So now that we have this kind of situation, we heard from the president who spoke about what had transpired. He spoke after the bill had actually been passed. And I heard you today actually responding to the president where you said he is spreading propaganda, but the president also seems to suggest that you people were actually spreading propaganda when you say that the intention is actually to take away coffee from the people. And he has asked the population to punish you politically.
That's okay. It's good he's throwing it, because that's the same thing we are doing. We are throwing this war back at the people. It's good he's doing the same, so that the people put us on a weighing scale and see who is telling the truth and who is not.
So you're both politicking?
Well, you can call it that, but let me throw some facts out there. You see, when we say he's trying to take coffee away from the people, he tried that a couple of months ago through Pineti. You remember? There was a standoff. We said this will not happen because he wanted to create a monopoly. By the way, when you read this bill, those that have taken time, it introduces an auctioning system, which in many ways creates a monopoly. So he wanted to get coffee and hand it over to Pineti, and we said, wait a minute, why are you trying to do that? And then he came clean. By then, this is the same Pineti whom we have given over 600 billion shillings to construct Loa Hospital. Until tomorrow, we don't know what's happening there. I went there with colleagues. We were denied access.
That was sometime back.
The Minister for Health, Dr. Jane Chen, who supposedly should be supervising this project, was denied access to that very place. You remember?
I saw another minister, Margaret Mohanga, who went there and actually shared some pictures on X, and there seems to be construction going on.
What I challenged Mohanga. I said, if there's good work going on there, allow us access. Allow your senior minister access. Because her senior minister was denied access. So I kept thinking, how come the junior minister was allowed access? So I said, if there's work going on there, we are here. Let us access. We go with the Andersons and their media houses. We'll see what's happening. But anyway, that's the Pineti. So Mr. Museveni came clean and said, look, yeah, this Pineti here was not even so much, engrossed in this coffee thing. I'm the one who was pushing her into it. It became clear who was interested in this. We have seen how Mr. Museveni has brought his son-in-law into the system and availed billions of shillings. Billions of shillings to create hubs around the country, to teach people how to drink coffee. Can you imagine? You want to, Anderson, whoever taught you how to drink milk, if you drink milk, or how to drink tea, or whatever it is that you take. Somebody just has to put out a good product, and you'll go for it. But now, that billions of shillings have to be spent to teach Ugandans how to drink coffee. There's a factory being constructed in Tungamo, and I'll be going there soon, to establish what's happening there, because taxpayers' money has been invested in that project. There's a consortium, billions of shillings, the most recent one, 37 billion shillings, his son-in-law, Greg Rawogo and others. And you're thinking, wait a minute, where is this going? All those are red flags. Because and again I challenged General Museveni. I said, look, if you want people to trust that you have got what it takes to run the coffee industry right, you sample them. Revive cotton, revive vanilla, revive moringa, revive sugarcane. That's happening in Uganda. That way people will see, okay, looks like you have got the wherewithal to do good with coffee. But they can't. Now that coffee is doing well, they are thinking, how do we get hold of this? Because you have plummeted all the other cash crops. There's no way you can convince me that you're going to do good with this one. If you have failed on all the others, how do you convince me, sure?
So you actually think the intention of the government is to kill off coffee? Is that what you're saying?
They have killed all the other cash crops. So if something is not broken, why are you trying to fix it? UCDA makes twice the money government avails to it for its operations. So it's making money for government.
Why would that be the case when actually we are seeing a massive attempt than ever before of marketing Ugandan coffee? You actually earlier talked about his son-in-law, Obrecht Wawogo. While you said that the money is going to him, it's actually going to the Presidential Advisory Committee on Exports, Industrial Development, PASIT. That's a team that is doing some marketing abroad for coffee and other Ugandan produce.
Maybe one of these days we need to...
So why kill coffee and market it abroad?
We one of these days need to interrogate the operations of that entity. But again, it lends credence to what we have been saying. You're saying the ministry is operating smoothly. So why did he create this entity headed by his son-in-law if the ministry is doing a good job? You just think about it.
Well, maybe the ministry does not have the marketing function, and therefore you need to be able to permeate, to get in there, use lobbies.
But I hope you're listening to yourself.
Yes,
so you're killing UCDA, saying the ministry will handle, but you're creating another entity to market. So why doesn't the ministry do the work that Obrecht Wawogo is doing at billions of shillings? Why? Why does it have to be Wawogo? So that clearly shows you that...
Why not him?
Why not the ministry? Because you're vouching for the ministry. Government is vouching for the ministry, saying let's rationalize. But you're closing down UCDA, you're empowering your son-in-law through another entity altogether. So why don't you close that too? Let the ministry do its job. The ministry has got commissioners, it has got all these technical people. Why don't they do that job? Why does it have to be now? You introduce your son-in-law, create another entity for him, pump billions of shillings therein to do this job. You see that it's like an oxymoron. You're contradicting yourself therein. But Anderson, let me broaden this a little bit. The rationale given by government that we want to save taxpayers' money does not hold water.
Well, we are told,
and I'll tell you why.
We are told about 1 trillion is actually going to be saved annually through this effort of rationalization.
Kenneth Anderson.
Why do you say that doesn't hold water?
on an annual basis, we lose over 10 trillion shillings to corruption. That's the IGG's report. Those are not my figures. If they were mine, people would say, this Ssenyonyi is trying to exaggerate things. Why don't you want to, as government, why don't you want to save that taxpayers' money, which is stolen every year, 10 trillion shillings? Because we see General Museveni is protecting the corrupt. When we begin to go after some corrupt fellows, says, leave these ones. The other day told the IGG, you leave these fellows. After all, the money they're stealing, they're investing it here.
And one of the things the president said was actually there was corruption in UCDA. So that could be one of the ways to actually deal with it.
So why don't you punish those who are corrupt? Why don't you deal with them? Why don't you deal with that corruption as he? Because I'm saying, you cannot convince me you're interested in saving taxpayers' money, but you are not dealing with the 10 trillion shillings that is stolen on an annual basis. URA last financial year collected below target. Its target was about 25 trillion shillings. They collected 23 trillion shillings. Half of that is stolen. Just think about it. That half of what you collect through revenues is stolen. And you're not interested in saving that taxpayers' money. Almost every election cycle, now we are going into an election, government comes with proposals to create new districts, new constituencies. That's why Parliament keeps budging and budging. Look at the cabinet of General Museveni, 80 plus ministers. Look at how many presidential advisors he has. Every day there's a new presidential advisor on roads, on borders, on chairs, on weather, on I don't know what, whom he doesn't even listen to. There's a senior presidential advisor called Dr. Ezra Suruma, who he pays handsomely, facilitates him to advise him. He has advised him on UCDA, saying leave it alone, and he has refused to listen to him. So there's a plethora of presidential advisors who do nothing. And you're telling me you're interested in saving taxpayers' money. You have RDCs, deputy RDCs, and now assistant RDCs. Right in the middle of the debate on rationalization, they introduced assistant RDCs. I stood up in Parliament and I asked the Prime Minister, I said, help me understand logically. You have come to Parliament to tell us, let's rationalize entities to save taxpayers' money. In the middle of that, you're introducing new positions that are going to be earning a salary, being facilitated, and so on and so forth. To do what? What's an assistant RDC going to do? That an RDC, deputy RDC, and all these people are not doing. How do you tell me you're trying to save taxpayers' money? We have been moving around, going to different entities that have been donated to money, taxpayers' money. Went to a church, sugar factory, which I've just talked about, 553 billion shillings. Taxpayers' money given. There's no sugar coming out of there. 723 billion shillings was given to Day Biopharma. Those are the guys who promised us vaccines for COVID, medicines, and so on. When we went there, they told us that at the start of October, they're going to be producing medicine. We are in November.
I've seen adverts.
There's nothing happening there.
An advert in the newspaper. They are recruiting. They are recruiting people who will be working in that factory.
Went to Rocco, which denied us access. It's been given 263 billion shillings. Donated taxpayers' money. Those are the guys who are meant to complete the parliamentary chambers. Meanwhile, because of not completing parliamentary chambers, Parliament spends billions to rent at Kingdom Kampala, Queen's Chambers, and so on. Just look at all of that mess. We went to Lubowa Hospital. Taxpayers' money, 600 billion shillings plus. We don't know what's happening there. I made a proposal in Parliament and I said, this money here, why do we not push it to health centers across the country? Because at least those ones are in place. They're only struggling, there's no medicine, there's no equipment and sundries to use. Let's put that money there because at least those ones are existing. They only need to be supported. So you're not dealing with all of these leakages and you're convincing me that you're interested in saving taxpayers' money? No, you're telling a lie.
Right. Somebody is going to say that, look, one of your mandates in Parliament is actually to deal with these issues of corruption. But you seem also to be lamenting like many of us. What have you done as the opposition in Parliament to deal with corruption? You were in charge of the oversight committees. How many reports have you churned out? How many people have been taken into book as a result of your findings, recommendations?
Being held accountable is another thing. Being brought to book, that is somebody else's role. My duty is to produce the reports, which we have. Even now, as leader of the opposition, I've tabled several reports. I've just been waiting for you. Day Biopharma, 723 billion. Atia, 553 billion. Lubowa Hospital, 600 billion plus. Rocco, 263 billion. And we are going for other entities. So bring these things to the fore. Of course, government is meant to take action. They will not take action because they're not interested in fighting corruption. They're not serious about this corruption fight. So when they say we are trying to save taxpayers' money, if you're serious about saving taxpayers' money, you deal with these ills that I've talked about, then people will believe you. Otherwise, you are hoodwinking them.
So now, as the opposition, you've met this resistance from the government to actually deal with this issue of UCDA. So what's your game plan? Should we say you have also accepted, because all we are waiting for now is for President Museveni to assent to the bill, and that will mean UCDA moves to the ministry.
You know, this is a bigger war, and that's why today I was encouraging farmers.
As you define it as a big war, keep it in mind that in Parliament where you are, numbers do matter. When you go into a debate, you can win or be defeated.
And that's okay.
And one will say this is exactly what happened.
No, you see, we stole this bill twice. Because I told my colleagues that, look, we are few in number, they outnumber us. Let's use another strategy to beat them. One, let's do thorough research. Let's peruse the laws, the rules. We'll beat them at that game. They'll beat us at the numbers. And that's how we stole successfully twice. Through the rules and so on. And so went to do the same thing, saying, we're ready for these guys. As I began, and my colleagues and were shooting through the rules and so on, they said, no, these guys here, they are going to still beat us at this brain game of bringing out, quoting the laws, rules of procedure and all of these different things. And let's just mess it up. That's how they chased the media out and put them under detention in Conference Hall view of Parliament. You know, you were around Parliament. And they said, okay, since you've chased us out of the chambers, let us go back to our media houses or go back home. He said, you're not going anywhere. So you've chased the media out, switched off the lights. You know, even during Tojukwata Call, you were in Parliament covering. During Tojukwata Call, journalists, that time you were a reporter at Parliament. You were not chased out. This time they were chased and detained. Lights were not switched off during Tojukwata Call. This time they switched off the lights. And then goons descended on Parliament. So they said, no, we will not manage the brain game, the debating, the discourse, and so on, quoting the laws and that kind of thing. So they decided to use that. But I said, look, that's a smaller battle within the bigger war. And that's why today I was encouraging farmers, please grow as much more coffee as you can. Because this war has not ended. And we are taking it to the people. And I was even telling them and saying, look, this is not a fight against opposition MPs. This is a fight against 12 million plus Ugandans who are involved in the coffee value chain. And those people have got to show cause. I even said, look, you people have a chance. These guys are taking coffee away from you. That's the reality. Anderson, I'm not a prophet. But as sure as day follows night, what happened to cotton, to vanilla, to moringa, to sugarcane, is going to happen to coffee.
When actually there's a factory being constructed.
But you see, now that you talk about that factory, I kept thinking, because I want to go and see what's happening there with that factory in Tunamo. I kept thinking, why do you have to put up a factory very far from your raw material, especially if it's taxpayers' money, as it is the case? Why did they construct this factory in Bugisu, for example, which is a big producer of coffee? I'll not even talk about Uganda. Some people have decided to tribalize this issue. You heard the speaker the other day very recklessly make remarks after she forgot to switch off her microphone.
That was artificial intelligence. That's what we got from her office. That's the explanation we got.
You people should stop believing all the nonsense you are told. The microphone was on, you saw it. Did you not? So who did the artificial intelligence? Because the national broadcaster, which I worked for 5 years, UBC,
was carrying a live feed.
Was carrying a live feed. So did the national broadcaster do artificial intelligence on the speaker? So anyway, she was caught red-handed, and then she had to find somebody told her the intelligent way around this. You say it was artificial intelligence, you can imagine, and she imagined that's very intelligent. Anyhow, my point is, why did that factory not get constructed in Bugisu, for example? Those are things I have to go and find out. I want to find out what's so special about Utunga.
All right, Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 19. Let's go for a break now. When we return, I will ask Honorable Ssenyonyi to explain further about the economic war that they're talking about. But there are also other issues, including concern from his colleagues in the House who say he lacks leadership, and therefore there's things happening behind that he is not able to deal with. Some people are saying, as a leader of opposition, he has failed to live to the expectations. What is it take on those particular issues? But keep your comments coming via the WhatsApp line 0703 090 090. Spectrum continues after this break.
Yes, even when we try to outwit them logically through the rules and so on, they will do what they did, send the media away, switch off lights, send goons therein. It's not just our war as opposition MPs. It's a war for the 12 plus million Ugandans who are involved in the coffee value chain. And we are telling them, wake up and smell the coffee, literally.
Whatever that implies.
What
does that mean?
It's a plain statement.
People have been smelling coffee.
It's their coffee being taken
from the
away.
time it has been brewed. How different will they be smelling it this time, Honorable Ssenyonyi?
Again, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, this is their valuable crop, which they have been making good money out of. Government does not seem to be happy about that. You know, I don't know, I get flummoxed by this regime. It does not seem to be interested in betterment of people's welfare. Just see what happened to cooperatives. People are making good money through cooperatives. They were able to afford all the basics of life. Take their children to school. When they are unwell, take them to good hospitals. Afford good feeding, balanced diet, and so on. But this government came and killed cooperatives deliberately. Deliberately. Because perhaps people who are not well off are very easy to roughshod over, to rule. You tell them line up here for selection time, 5,000 each. But people who have some money on them, you're not going to tell them to line up. They will challenge you, they will speak out. But now a population that is impoverished is easy to rule. I don't know if that's what they want. But that's why they're trying to do all of these different things. It's bothersome.
You know, I'm just finding it hard that you could be talking about that when it comes to President Museveni, who has been moving across this country, telling people about wealth creation and trying to promote the idea that people should actually start getting income from the household. And that would be imputing, I don't even know how to put it. It's unbelievable to think that the government intends to actually kill coffee, which is the cash cow.
Yeah, because if it doesn't intend to kill it, why not? It is thriving now. Why are you trying to fix something that is
maybe they want it to thrive better,
like
much more.
The way cotton and sugarcane and vanilla and moringa are thriving? Because those are directly under the superintendentship of the ministry. So do they want coffee to quote unquote thrive the way those other crops are thriving? We all know what happened.
Could it be, Joel Ssenyonyi, that you as a group have decided to put on your political lenses and you're drumming up this matter, knowing that we're going into a political season, and you want to use it, as a weapon against
We shall use it.
The government.
We shall use it, election or no election. Yes, that we have a few months to the election. But even if it was after the election, we'll still use it. Anderson, economics, in many, many respects, has got a tethering to politics. Yeah, the politics determines whether you will drive on a good road or not, whether you will find medicine in hospital or not. The politics determines how many youth will have jobs or not. The politics determines even the cost of living. It determines the prices of commodities in the market. So when you say we are politicizing this issue, and unfortunately, that's what it is.
I'm not saying you're politicizing it. You're using it as a stepping stone.
As a stepping stone?
Yes.
Okay, then let them do the right thing so that we stop using it as a stepping stone. You remind me of people who are saying...
That's why they're insisting. That's why they're insisting on taking it back to the ministry.
You remind me of people who are saying, you see, NUP has used these political prisoners for mileage and so on. They've made money. I said, wow, release them so that we stop making money, the money you're talking about. So if we are using it for political capital, you leave it alone so that we don't have to use it. If you're thinking, we have now benefited out of this situation, you leave it alone so that we stop benefiting out of it.
So at the end of the day, as the opposition in Parliament, where do you stand now? As you say that this is going to be a war, one would say that maybe you want to involve the members of the public. What do you want them to do in this case, beyond saying that they should grow more coffee?
In fact, we don't even have to involve them. They are involved from the word go. From the word go, we are only speaking out as their leaders and opening their eyes to the reality. And it's important that they come to terms.
What can they do? Because at the end of the day, when they grow the coffee, they will want to sell it, and there will be somebody to buy this coffee, and they won't escape it anyway. So they grow the coffee and do what with it?
You know, when, and this is now plain reality of some things, when Kenya was getting rid of Daniel Arap Moi in 2004, I believe it was, the whole country spoke with unanimity and said, no, enough is enough. The corruption had become too much, the bad governance, the totalitarian nature of his regime. Politicians spoke out, ordinary people, civil society, religious leaders, cultural leaders, wananchi, everybody said, you know what, enough is enough. We must get to that point as the people of Uganda. So some people might say, well, this is just a thing of the MPs. Well, your MPs will be beaten, as was the case, will be pushed out of parliament, journalists will be chased out, lights off, and that kind of thing. So you've got to stand up and be counted and say, no, this is not acceptable. You know, I saw General Museveni at his press conference, and that shows you really where it's coming from.
But you have not yet told us what exactly you wanted people to do.
Just listen. At that press conference, General Museveni paraded a choir of sorts.
Coffee growers.
Praise singers who were saying, Mzee, you're very right, you're correct, who is better than you? I said, but now, there are other voices, even within your own party, the NRM. Like Dr. Ezra Suluma, your senior presidential advisor, whom you pay to advise you, who has written advising you against this.
Well, the president said he has faced such battles in the past from people who were opposing the positions of the NRM on certain issues, and he overcame them with success. That's what he said.
Like what? Like OTT? You know, even during OTT, he was very obstinate. I was in the media at the time, and he said, but this thing does not make sense at all. He
gave the example of Bujagali, where he actually said people were opposing the construction of the power dam. But eventually, Uganda needed more power, and it's now beneficial to them.
Uganda has adequate power. How many people are on, what's the percentage of people on the national grid?
That's another issue, but the fact of the matter is...
You're a journalist.
Well, I don't work
How many Ugandans?
I don't work for the Minister of Energy, but what I know...
Who says you have to work for the Minister of Energy to
know facts? But what I know, the facts...
Anderson.
The facts that were being...
Anderson, let's run away from this. You are a senior journalist.
No, the facts...
If I asked you, what is the GDP of Uganda today, will you tell me, me, I don't work for Ministry of Finance? You're a journalist, you should know this.
No, of course I know it.
Anyway, let me not put you in this spot.
I don't want you to push it in my corner.
No, it's important.
Because it's a fact of the matter that while there are fewer people on the national grid, we have more electricity than we had before Bujagali came online.
And we have adequate electricity that we require? And at how much? That should open your mind to thinking about why about 70% of this country is not connected to the national grid. Do you think they don't want power for them? That they want to use that over and so on? So while you are huffing and puffing and saying now, you know, we have a success story as far as electricity is concerned, companies are shutting down because of electricity bills. They cannot break even. They cannot keep their heads above the water. So that should not be an example you should use as a success, yeah? But
I've not heard about companies that are closing because of electricity bills.
But where do you live, you man?
No, you can cite for us some examples.
Several of them. Let me tell you. According to Enterprise Uganda, that's why people need to read. Especially you, my fellow journalists.
Let
me give you some facts.
I want people to hear from you.
According to Enterprise Uganda, 60% of businesses that are started in Uganda don't live up to their first birthday. Because of cost of production.
Multiple reasons.
Yeah, cost of production. And electricity is one of those. Many companies are grappling with that challenge. I don't know what your electricity bill looks like at home. Maybe you are comfortable with it. Not many people are. But that's just one example
Well, it depends
among
on
several.
it depends on how much I'm consuming.
Well, you can rationalize it that way, but the unit price of electricity is problematic. And that's why you see many companies, even through the Ministry of Finance, come to Parliament seeking waivers, tax waivers. You say, but why? You see our cost of electricity, our cost of this, cost of production. Some of the leading defaulting entities, ministries, police, the army, they default on electricity, they default on water, they have huge bills. But anyhow, the point is, Anderson, we have got a broken system that has got to be fixed. And all of us have got to come on board. So yes, we are going to the coffee farmers and telling them, one, grow as much more coffee as you possibly can. Muibatami. But two, this coffee is going to be here much longer than General Museveni and others like you. And speak out. Let your voices be heard. They're trying to stifle your voices. And that's why I was giving you the example of the press conference that General Museveni held, and he got all these praise singers. I kept thinking, why did you bring somebody with a contrary view? Because they are there, and you listen to them. So they're trying to stifle your voices. And that's why he's telling you, these politicians, they are telling you lies, they are terrorists. And I'm saying, well, let's sieve through the logic. You are rationalizing entities to save taxpayers' money, but you're creating many more. There is something called State House Anti-Corruption Unit, which was created because in Mr. Museveni's school of thought, the IGG was failing. And I thought, if the IGG is failing in their job, you fire her, replace her with those you think will work. You're the one who hired her. Anyway, there's something called State House Health Monitoring Unit, a full entity with staff and so on. If the PS or the Minister of Health is failing, you fire them. You're the one who hires them. Why are you creating another entity? Then there's State House Investors Protection Unit, there's State House Lands Unit, the State House, they introduced another one about revenue collections, headed by one David Kalemera, who is a convicted tax fraud. He was convicted in 2022 for tax fraud. A unit was, an entity was created. But so if you're thinking the people who are running URA are not doing a good job, you fire them. Why do you have to create another entity? So that explains to you the narrative that I am saying. It is not true he's just seeking to save taxpayers' money, because there are low-hanging fruits. Those are the low-hanging fruits. Some of those entities, you don't even need to come to Parliament through a bill to close them. Just close them. If the ministry is not doing a good job, you fire those who are there. Put those ones that, that's what I've been saying. If IGG is not doing a good job, the people you hired in the State House Anti-Corruption Unit, you get them, transpose them into the IGG's office, fire the other ones. You have that mandate. As opposed to creating a new unit that is, having to be spent on plenty of money and all these other different things. Does that make sense to you?
Right, Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90. We have a number of comments actually coming in via the WhatsApp line. So I'll read out some of these comments,
sure.
If you can note them, so that you can respond to them. We have a comment coming in from Julius, who says his constituency was created was out of the creation of a new one. So expansion, in this case, supported. So somebody is saying you're a beneficiary of a constituency which was cut out from another one, so you should be supporting expansion. And one would wonder if they woke up one day and said, Nakawa West 2026, no Nakawa West, will you actually accept that kind of proposal? Look, we appreciate the persistence. Could you please also rationalize Parliament? Remember, it is an arm of government, and that I think goes in line with what I've just put to you earlier about Nakawa West. Would you accept that kind of intervention? We have a comment coming in from John, one of the regional hosts of this particular program. He says, this video in which properties of taxpayers, proprietors, this is a video in which the proprietors of a taxpayer-funded coffee plant are boasting that Museveni has already promised them that all Uganda coffee will go to Jungamo. Inspire Africa has zero track record on the growing and processing of coffee. That's John Bijamano listening in from Chireka there. Then we have another comment, Samuel Mary Yiga listening in from Namlondo. Great thanks to Honorable Ssenyonyi and his fellow opposition colleagues upon being there for the downtrodden people. Even though the NRM side won and the agency was rationalized, but you did your part. Thanks a lot. So that's a comment from someone there. Then we have another comment, Benon Fred Twinamasko, writing in and says, well, a lengthy comment here from Benon Fred Twinamasko. I'm trying to get to it. Very quickly, he says, good evening, Kenneth Kant. Buganda market its coffee abroad under Mwanyi Terimba Limited. Buy it from farmers and determine its own price. That's a proposal there that is coming from that particular listener. Good evening, Anderson. How are you? Economics knows no tribe and basic economics. It's entrepreneurs who put goods and services on the shelf. So, Honorable Ssenyonyi, the reverse is true. Politics has never provided food. That's a comment from Yabazaire John, who is listening in from Fort Porto there. We have another comment coming in from Yaba, who is a councillor. He says he's tuned in from Nakawa, and he's thanking the area MP for doing a wonderful job. We have a comment from Ras, who writes in a spectrum. I salute Honorable Ssenyonyi's exposure of the corrupt government officials within his mandate as the leader of opposition, but it is now the arm of government responsible to clean the mess. That is Kizito listening in from Muyenga. Another comment, good evening, Spectrum. Thank you for the show. On several occasions, we have seen the law dissenting parliament. That said, the last regional parliamentary sitting in Gulu, yet some opposition MPs under him defied him and attended the same. Doesn't he think his credibility is being compromised now? Now that he seems to be having opposition within opposition. Then two, what are some of your achievements as the LOP? That is a comment that comes in from Kamuko, who is trying to, compare your time and that of your predecessor, Honorable Mathias Mpuga. Another comment here, the government will only rationalize things that take money back to citizens. They don't care about the citizens. That's a comment from Alan Shaka Orlando with that comment there. Then we have a comment coming in from George, who is listening in from Bunga. He says, tell the LOP that they're doing politics and poko poko. Last Saturday on another radio, the same issues came up when Honorable Mugabes exposed the Uganda Caucus daydreaming plan while making unrealistic demands, because Honorable told them that when the Uganda Caucus, your comment is not so straight, George, you need actually to re-edit it. It's not making a lot of sense. We have another comment here. We can't fail to your deceitful words if you tell the coffee growers not to cooperate with the government. We will help them to market. Will you help them to market their coffee? What message are you bringing? Sorry, but that you are not a good leader. You can't even answer questions correctly. That's a comment from Anthony there, weighing into the discussion that we're having here in the studio. And then we have another comment here. Good evening, Anderson. Let the farmers be. Coffee will die, just as Honorable Joel has rightly said. That's a comment from Joy. Then lastly, at this point, we have a comment from Prince Haika, who writes in and says, good evening, Spectrum. Non-partisan person, he says. He's a non-partisan person. He says, however, Joel should know that Uganda has no hope in opposition based on the way they handle issues of national importance. And he says, with or without NRM, there is nothing opposition can offer. That's a comment from Prince Haika, who is listening in from Dubai. Honorable Joel, your listeners.
I would appreciate the listeners for listening in and sending in their thoughts. Julia said your constituency was carved out, something that was against, because at the start of the show, I'm the one who said every election cycle, they bring new districts, new constituencies. And somebody will ask, okay, so if, now this is Kampala Central where this radio station is located, if they carve it out, will you not front a candidate? Yes, we shall. In both of those places where they shall have carved it out. We will not leave a vacuum there. But we are saying this is a wrong modus operandi, and that's why we are telling government, if you're serious about saving taxpayers' money, stop it. A couple of others were saying thank you, keep fighting, and so on. Yabazaire was saying politics doesn't put food on the table. Yeah, but again, politics can take food away from your table. That's the point I'm making. So if you want to say, there are people who say, well, I don't give a damn about politics, and then you'll be taking your car to the mechanic every weekend because of the bad road. And then you'll be a huge coffee farmer, and all of a sudden you'll be hit on the head. So we need to come to that realization, because the decisions that are made by politicians will affect you, whether you like it or not. Yeah, you can hide and bury your head in the sand, but that is the reality. Kamugo says, opposition within opposition, talking about, yes, some people who, either do not seem to be happy with my leadership. That is okay. It is
and actually, one of your own, an MP known as Kakembo from Entebbe municipality, was quoted that is saying that there's lack of leadership, and probably one of the reasons why there's no cohesion. Apparently, people are even fighting. I think he was referring to the issue of Honorable Cole and Honorable Zake.
So is it the leader of opposition who was chairing the House, who was presiding over the House when people were fighting? Anyhow,
when you were a leader, you ran the troops.
Listen. And for me, I like it when there is resistance. I like to work against resistance, because then I can keep pushing, I can keep pressing through, I can break through walls. Yeah. Not everybody will be happy when there is, change. Some people thought, maybe I still wanted to keep that chair, or whatever the case might be. That's okay. I mean, I've had some of them say all manner of things, saying, now we are not doing the right thing there. When we call for opposition caucus meetings, they don't show up. Because if you have a brilliant idea, you're saying, Ssenyonyi, here you're doing the wrong thing. You are a member of parliament. When we invite you for meetings, you don't come to share with us your so-called brilliant idea. But you'll be in Kamoli somewhere complaining, why should I be bothered by you? Surely. Because if you have a brilliant idea, you're not like the other ordinary people who don't have access. You have access. You come and tell us your brilliant idea, we listen to it. But you don't show up, you're always absent, but you're in your Kamoli. That Ssenyonyi is not leading us right and that kind of thing. Ssenyonyi will keep moving with those who are moving. Anthony says, if you tell farmers not to cooperate, will you market their coffee? For starters, I have told farmers to grow as much more coffee as they can. But I'm also telling them to speak out for themselves. So I'm telling them, look, if you look on what happened to cotton, what happened to vanilla, to moringa, to sugarcane, will happen to you as well. Yeah? Prince says Uganda has no hope in the opposition. Prince, you speak for yourself. You have no hope in the opposition, and that's okay. That's fine. When I won my election in Nakawa West, I'm using myself as an example because I'm the one here. I was not everybody believed in me. Not everybody voted for me. There are some who voted for other people, and that's okay. So it is fine when you as Prince, your hope is elsewhere. That's okay. But we are also here as stakeholders, and we shall speak out, we shall air out our thoughts, and keep moving.
Your closing remarks as we come to the end of the show, Honorable Ssenyonyi.
Thank you for hosting me, and I appreciate the listeners for listening in and those that have shared their thoughts.
Right, and as Spectrum will continue to follow the happenings in Parliament about this particular issue of rationalization, and we hope next time when we invite you, you'll still come in to share the way forward. We'll be interested to know more about the progress of the economic war and the benefits that will accrue from it. From me and the guests in studio, we thank you for actually tuning in, but also contributing to this discussion. Up next, we're going to have the news in English with Miss Lillian Keno. Thereafter, we'll have the Soul Train with BB Junior.
Ebyo ebya Lope Joel Ssenyonyi jeyo bwino ina namukuba ku mmeeza kakati nno zinadde okunywa. General Museveni ono wamufuna ajja kutomeza, ajja kulabisa ate ng'ayita amateeka ne gavumenti yo. Akadde kagenda kutuuka, essaawa egenda kutuuka, olunaku lugenda kukyalumu, General Museveni ntunda agenda kubyejjusa. Ekintu tugenda kumulyanga n'obujulizi bwonna weebuli, buli kikolwa kyeyakola n'obujulizi weebuli, bano abaana bafaayirinza General Museveni. Simanyi gye binaki ebyo naye amanyiyo tebijja kuba bulungi. Mukama akuume, mwerabu.